You guys look beautiful.
Thank you. Are you back from Hawaii? Obviously.
No. I go next Saturday. We have a week.
Today is the last day of school for her kids.
I thought I saw that you were in Hawaii. Never mind. Okay.
Not yet.
I'm so jealous for you. Well, we're so thankful you could join us. Well, first of all, why don't you tell us who you are and what you do, and then I will say how I came across you and why I really wanted you on the podcast.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So I am Jehava Brown, but I would say Hava is what my friends call me. So I've been a blogger and social media influencer for like 4 to almost 5 years. And so my handle is Only Girl 4 Boys because I live with 4. I include my husband in that too.
Absolutely. Yes, you should.
People are like, it's a man. I'm like, well, but yeah, so I've been doing this from home for about 4 to 5 years, and it's been a whirlwind, but it was just a way for me to like stay home and find community. And then it actually turned into like a huge business. So
what did you do? So when I was on Instagram and we've been following you for a while now, and then you were explaining what you did, and I was like, we're in the same space. We don't blog. So when you were explaining it, we have such a hard time explaining what we do. But when you were doing it, I was like, you explained it so well, so much better than we ever could. I was like,
so we've got some work to do.
No, I just think it's so like eloquent how you said it and explained it to the masses, because so often people are like, what? And they get so offended by ads. And like I still can't understand why they get offended by ads, but like when you started, what did you do before?
Stay at home.
So I stayed home with my boys for a while. My husband was working only, and honestly things were super tight, and I was like trying to do a lot of different like side jobs. Like I babysat, I was like a mystery shopper, I sold Mary Kay. Like,
sorry, a mystery shopper.
You tell us immediately what a mystery shopper is.
I know what
I know, but I want to hear it. I want to know how that goes.
So literally though, you can only make like 10 to 20 bucks, but you go into different restaurants, they send you like sign up online and they'll pay for your food. So I was like, oh, it's like free Arby's. But then you like are in there and you have to do this whole questionnaire about the place, like how clean it was your food hot, all that stuff. Yeah.
How many times did you do that?
A lot. I did a lot, but still I'd go a lot and like make $100, which I was like, well, this is play money or something. But yeah.
To go eat too, which is amazing.
Were you ever able to go to like nice, like fancy restaurants?
It was always like fast food. Yeah.
Still great.
I was free food. Lunch.
I love that.
And then when you decided to go into blogging, like, why were you like, because we have a mom community as you do, and so many moms go through a transition where they feel like you felt stretched, super thin, and like, I'm not contributing. I mean, I don't know if you did, but we felt guilty every time we would spend money, even on the kids' clothes, like to get them, something, and you'd be like, oh, they needed this, and you're feeling like terrible about buying like avocados that are like $4 that you mash up and they might eat. But what was that transition for you, and how did you have the confidence and like to be like, I'm going to start blogging, I'm going to do this?
Yeah. So I read a lot of blogs especially when I had my older two were like younger. They like kept me sane because I just felt alone a lot of times during the day, and like I was not getting human interaction, and like play dates. It's like, okay, our kids are yelling over each other, so it wasn't like I was getting alone time. And the blogs that were super real about the ugly parts of motherhood, like fed my soul. And so then I think I reached out to a blogger and was like, hey, how are you doing this? And I couldn't believe she actually replied. And she was like, oh yeah, like it's my full-time job. And I was like, you can make money doing this? And so I like went crazy into learning how to do it. Like I would say I hit the ground running like 40 hours a week for 6 months before I ever made a dime. And I was just like, I can do it. Why can't I do it? So
yeah,
I don't know.
First of all,
mentality. Yeah.
I love that you reached out to a blogger and she gave you insight. So much of how we grew was reaching out to other women who are sort of in different spaces we wanted to be at. And they were always so open, like, I'll meet you for coffee or I'll have a call. And they were so like helpful in sharing. And I think that a lot of people don't talk about how amazing other women can be to each other. But did you have a background in writing? Because for us to sit down and blog, the reason that we had to do videos was because we ain't no writers.
I really don't feel like I'm a writer, but it was more just therapeutic. Like I was like most of the things I even write about now, which are a lot about relationships, friendships, like hard parts of motherhood, hard parts of marriage. It's actually like what I'm usually going through. So it was just therapeutic for me. So sometimes I was like, this doesn't make sense, but in blog world, it doesn't have to be like an essay, right? Like it doesn't have to look perfect. So I was like, I can put a period wherever I want.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. You know what? That's so good for people to hear.
Yes.
Like, forget the perfectionism. Like, I can put a period wherever
Yeah.
wherever I want. I'm gonna throw it in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just started like being a therapeutic thing to write. And then when I got on Instagram, it was kind of like, well, it was a little bit simpler. I didn't have to write as much, but it still was just like a way for people to get to know us. But
was your
That's
husband
exactly what I was.
your husband supportive of 40-hour work weeks with no money?
And he knew you read blogs, but he probably didn't understand the business of it.
No. So it's so funny because that's like the number one question I get is like, are so many people write messages to me telling me how hard it is. Like their husband's like, you're only bringing $100.
Yep.
I think honestly, I just hit the jackpot. Like my husband was always like, if it could possibly make money, go ahead. And he also saw I was like happier, not as cranky, I think, when he came home because I was like, oh, now's my time to work at night. And he was like, so he right away, before I brought in any money, was like, I'll put the kids to bed if you need some support. And I was like constantly though telling him information like, look at how much money these people are making. And I've talked to
Good one.
Look at this. So like he was like, oh, it's a real possibility. So I was constantly like educating him at the same time. And then like right when I was even getting free food, I think at first and stuff, he was like, oh, it's saving on our grocery bill. Like he saw it as beneficial, whereas I think a lot of people have to prove that. He was like, either way, it's less off of our food. But I would say stuff like that too. Like I'd be like, well, this is less groceries. Well, look, we don't have to buy the kids clothes. So I say you like push that at him and he was like, oh yeah.
Right. You really have to educate them. And yeah, good one.
I think like the number one thing why women don't start something or why they, or don't, like, I feel like because a lot of their spouses don't support them and that's the barrier to their dream or to their trying to make a dream, so I like, it's so amazing you had that because I don't think a lot of people do, but
jackpot is right.
I do like that you said show them the potential. And that might, often it's just they don't understand that it is a job and it just looks, people like, well, it's Instagram, it's fun, and you're like, Instagram pays the bills, babe, so it is just fun.
Yeah.
So you went, I also know you said that you felt like Black women and families were underrepresented in the family blog space. And was that huge at the time?
Yeah. And that had a lot and I think it still is. And that had a lot to do with why I wanted to do it, because honestly, like we've always had people comment, which people think that's weird, but it's our normal life whenever we've been out. Like at Costco, literally people will stop and sometimes have horrible comments because they think they're giving a compliment. So like someone's even told my husband, like, wow, your family is so beautiful. And I think you're doing a great job. You don't have any tattoos on your neck. And I'm like, what? Like,
what?
Yes, those type of comments. But I know they think they're giving us a compliment, but it's like, stop at the compliment. But we've always actually had a lot of comments when we're eating at restaurants. People always come up. And so I was like, the world needs to know that there's a lot of Black families without these stereotypes that you think are associated.
Like they would stop you at a restaurant and say what to you?
Oh, all the time. Like even at Costco, always happens at Costco, but somebody even stopped us, an older lady, and just said, your boys are so well behaved. And, I was just watching you. I didn't want you to think it was creepy. And she was like, I'm a teacher of inner city kids. And she was like, it's great that you're raising yours to be different than those are. And I was just like,
Oh no, what do you say?
I honestly, we're always really gracious, even though we go home and we're mad. But like we at the time are just like, yeah. And I'll say something like, yeah, I don't think that's true for everyone. But I'm kind of a little bit like, I say it in a nice way because I realize they'll hear it a little bit more, which is how I talk about racism anyway on my channel, because a lot of people will send messages when it's done a little bit more gracious than if I'm just cursing everyone out, nobody hears me.
Yeah.
But if I try to break it down in a more gracious way, people seem to be like, whoa, I never thought about that, or I never heard it that way. And I don't feel attacked.
Yeah, we that's kind of our philosophy. We try to come from the same philosophy of, just like being like, let's talk about it versus fight about it, and let's hear, your perspective. And when you do sponsored posts, and like how's the response from people when you include your whole family? Because your husband's in a lot of, like, your husband's very involved in a lot of the ad campaigns. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, he is, but
I mean, because ours are AWOL, like in all the campaigns, like, not every man's like, I want to be, on the Instagram.
Yeah. But people always ask me why he's not in my stories. And it's not that he hates it. So he'll take pictures, but he actually is just more like, I don't really care. And so I have more made that choice, just like my oldest son. I don't really put him in my stories. Like, it's just, I made more of a choice to not make it overwhelming for him. Like, this is my business. And yes, it benefits our entire family. So everyone needs to get in the pictures. That's kind of my mode. So I'm like, this is mommy's job.
I know. I love it. How old is your eldest son?
He's about to turn 16.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So you have teenager. I mean, ours are 12, and oh gosh, it's starting. Oh man.
Yeah, it's heavy. And I have a 13-year-old, so he just turned into a teenager. So
oh gosh. So when you started doing the blogging and all the sponsored posts, like, I think this is another thing that a lot of people wonder, like, okay, so where do I go to get a sponsored post? Do they do the brand deals come to me? Do you negotiate them yourself? Like, how does all that go?
Yeah. So I actually started by pitching like a psycho. Like, I would probably send out like 40 pitches a week. Like, who would you email? So I found, again, somebody actually helped me. So I should say this really quick. So yes, some people were really helpful, but for the most part, I got a lot of shade, is the only way to say it, from influencers not wanting to help me. Like, it was like, you don't have enough following. And now they like are in my inbox trying to be friends half the time. And I'm like, no, I reached out to you when I had 100 followers and you ghosted me. But this small, actually, food blogger, and she's the one who helped me and kind of showed me the ropes of like, you have to pitch. You find the contact from like the look up media kit and look up like media. Well, it's media contact or press contact. Just Google that for the company you want to. And most of them are actually who is behind their Instagram. So if you message that, a lot of times it's the press contact anyway. So I would just ask for, what email is it so that I can send a pitch to? But like, I needed someone to tell me those things. And literally this girl was like the only one who really helped me. And she was a food blogger. It's not the same thing, but she was like, and go to these websites, there's tons of networks where you can apply for jobs and fill out applications and just keep going till they select you. And once they select you, it'll start to.
And then do you do your own deals? So you pitch, they tell you how much they'll pay you, and then you say okay and handle the invoicing and all that?
Well, not anymore. Now I just like 6 months ago started working with like a management company because it was just too many hours a day. And so they do the same thing. But I even had assistants the last few years because it started getting too overwhelming. And so I'm open about it. I paid everyone 15% off of all the contracts because they would do like the invoicing, the negotiating, but I'd be copied on everything. But for 2 years, I did everything myself. And then I started like delegating a little bit. So I still see everything, but now the management company like presents it to me, but they still only go off of stuff that comes in my inbox. So that probably took I would say about 3 years. One was at 5, about 3 years till like now everything just comes to me. So I don't have to pitch. So that.
Do you remember your first deal? Like, do you remember the first deal that came in?
I don't. I think it was like a frozen food company that's not even like real. Like, I can't even remember the name. And it was horrible. I remember it was so bad. And I was like, even though I had 100 followers, I was like, I'm not going to lie to people. So I was like, well, this is convenient and nice for people who are busy, but I would not say it was good.
Right?
Oh my
I
God,
love
that's
that.
actually really smart. Like, I like, you're like, I'm gonna say it's really great for busy people. I'm not gonna say it's good though.
It's
Oh,
not
and
good.
they didn't care. They were like,
No,
sure.
they were like, well, you still promoted it. And yeah. And I think at that point, I was just getting so much like stuff for it. I wasn't getting paid money. So that made a big difference.
Do you remember your first money deal? Or was that it, the frozen food one?
No, that wasn't. I know it was through Social Fabric, which is like a network that a lot of people use to get started for food type of things. So it was like something big, like Oreos. They work with big companies, but they pay so low because it's like they just go to the network and are like, "Can I get 50 bloggers for $200 type of thing to do all this work?" But at first, it was like I made $200. So
Yeah.
I was really excited, but and it still helped me be able to have experience with Oreo and companies like that, even though I really wasn't getting paid well for it.
How did you like, I know you built, and I know you were like, it sounds like you had bumps. Like, was there any bumps in the way? Because I think that so many people, like, how did you have to Google like WordPress, or like, did you like, where were the pain points? Because again, I think so many women and moms are just like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know where to turn on the computer, and like how much money can one make in this space, and how many follow, like, how did you learn all that?
And like, because I can only imagine how many people have, how many women have started blogs, and it just is like, I don't know how to get here. And how many probably quit?
Yeah. Well, I think like people aren't consistent enough, and a lot of people are big on like treating this like a hobby. And I think that's really the only difference. Like people try it as a side hustle, but I was like, this is going to be my job. So, and somebody else told me like, put in the time, like it's your job and it'll pay off. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to consistently post on Instagram because I know Instagram honors that like as much as I can. So it was like every other day, even if my pictures were whack at first and I didn't know how to get editing apps and all that stuff, but I was spending hours every day reading articles. And so many bloggers actually write about how to start, how to take better photos, like how to set up a blog on WordPress. I didn't know how to do any of that. So I just watched YouTube videos and nobody directed me. I literally just researched it. And Pinterest actually has tons of articles. So I would just read for like hours every single night. And then I would change a little thing. And I just had to keep reminding myself, like, it's not going to look perfect yet, but I'm going to change a little thing every week. Okay, so I found an editing app, or I got my website up, and maybe it took everyone else 24 hours, but it took me 3 weeks because I had to do it myself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of it. It was like just to do baby steps and not think of it as a sprint, but I knew it was going to be a marathon to actually make some kind of money. And my goal was to make a part-time income, which took me, well, it took me 6 months to make any income. And then it took me another 6 months to get to part-time income. And then it took me another 6 months to get to a full-time income. And I say full-time income, everyone throws that around, but I'm really honest. It's like 45,000. It was about maybe like 50 or so was like full-time income. And then every year I doubled my income, which was crazy.
I love it. And you know, one of those things that you're saying is a lot of times, again, women, they don't want to start until everything is absolutely perfect. Like they don't want to post that first picture until they take 4,000. And you make a really good point. You just got to start. You'll get better along the way. You'll learn along the way, but just go.
Go ahead.
And I actually have a friend who we started at the same time, and her blog is beautiful and everything, but she actually did plan a lot longer than I did. And I do see the value in that, but it was just my personality was very much like, I'll learn as I go. So I knew that I thought of starting a blog, and literally that weekend, like I did not plan. I did not have a business plan. Like a lot of women do that stuff, but I was like, just publish. Like I literally just pushed it and was like, okay, we're going, and I'm going to just start. And then I was like, and then I'll edit stuff as I go. And I kept going back and like, oh, that was horrible. But I think it's just like start and learn as you go got me a lot farther faster than if I would have like had this huge business plan that honestly I created like an hour or maybe a year and a half later. I was like, I should have a business plan.
How helpful for women that you say what you that you can make, that you do make, and like, you know, the secret isn't there, that like so many people are so hush hush about it, because it's like I think so many women, you know, when you talk about what you make, you think that your audience will be like, must be nice, like, you know, you get really nervous about like, I'm there was a time when the audience feels like, you're doing this and I'm paying for your, you know, your lifestyle, must be nice kind of thing. Now, not everyone's like that, but some people, did you get that?
Do you get that feedback on your ads?
I not as much because I'm open about it. So I think like I tell people like this is exactly how this works. And people always send me messages saying, I've never heard anyone explain it that way. So I'm like, so if you like my stuff, guys, and if you comment on my stuff, and then I try to do giveaways to thank you for that too and supporting my business, but like that literally helps me. And still, sponsored posts are always for every blogger going to be lower likes,
Always,
you know. And I think some of that is just people being haters, but
Yeah.
but honestly, I'm like, it's a commercial. It's just supposed to go in front of people's face. It doesn't matter how many of you guys, you know, like it or comment on it. And at least that's what I tell brands. But
Yeah.
but I did get a little bit of that, but I think people really value that I'm honest about like this is now I don't like totally tell everyone my full income.
Yeah.
But I think people have a pretty good range because I do answer pretty close to. And a lot of people are super hush hush in this business about even finding friends that will be like, hey, how much do you make on this? Or I think I found like one or two like who were actually like, what's your income? You know, and
Yeah.
what are you charging per post? Which I mean, I did an article with Business Insider last week that like I just told them, I was like, okay, it's fine. I would rather be open about it. And I feel like people are more likely to want to support that. So
You say that, and it's so crazy because there was a journalist, I don't know if you ever saw it, she went undercover, or like was like a mom influencer, and like wanted to see what the industry was like. And
yeah,
when she saw the amount of money that women were making as moms and juggling it all, she was like, if they would all be in Forbes if they talked about it more. And if it was like, it's like, because they're moms, it's kind of like, that's cute, versus like, wow, that's amazing that they're doing this with their kids at home and in corporate, like it's a family business, and everyone's just kind of like cute. And it just, I feel like when you talk about it, you put value. If no one's talking about it, no one really knows the powerhouse behind women and moms. And we should be celebrating moms and women. And we always are like, oh God, you feel awkward talking to, like, we're guilty of feeling awkward about it because you feel like it's like, look what we're making versus, and like on the people who support you, you know, but they're not paying you. It's just this weird pendulum, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, well, we never criticize like actors on TV or people.
Or men.
Not saying we're actors, but yes, or men. Like if they are doing this, I feel like it's not even close to the same thing. But it's like, I notice what everyone's doing because I know what's behind the scenes, but nobody else knows how much has to go into even creating a video like this. Like that's why I can't do YouTube, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's a whole nother world. That's so overwhelming. There's so much behind it. Like I tell people, our jobs are 5% is posting that picture. Like that's literally the smallest percentage of my job. And they're like, what? I thought everyone was just like random and doing a random story. And I'm like, no, I'm thinking in my mind, oh, this is a good moment to show on my stories. Or this is, you know, you're always thinking like that.
You are.
So it's a very different, and it's a very demanding business. And people are like, don't realize how many hours you have to put in. So I always tell people it's not a get rich quick scheme. Like
no,
years and 60-hour work weeks to get to this income. But if you want to, this is a way you can do it. And for me, it's beneficial to be home with my kids after school and stuff like that. So it feels like even if mommy's on her phone, I'm still here.
I know.
Haters. Do you get haters, or do you get, you do?
Oh, yes. I'm just going to plug up my computer. Sorry, I'm going to move.
Oh God, don't worry at all. No.
So yes, I do. I definitely get haters a lot. And I get a lot of, we've gotten a lot of like racism and through ads. Almost all of my ads that I shared with people, they were surprised. So I'm starting to highlight that a little bit more on when a brand promotes our ad, a lot of times the comments under them are horrible. And it's part of the business that we have to deal with. Like people will, if it's me and my kids, people will always be like, oh, awesome, there's no dad. Of course, she's a single mom. Always tons of those comments. If he's there, it's like, oh, I bet those aren't all his kids. And I'm like, actually, they are. I mean, it's always something.
What does the brand do when that happens? How does the brand handle that?
Do they deal or ignore?
Well, I have to message them and tell them to, and a lot of times followers will see it and be like, your brand should stop this. There's like thousands of comments. And I mean, honestly, sometimes I can brush it off. And then some days it's like so heavy because you're talking about my kids and you're talking about us in such a negative way that I'll cry about it. But I always have to ask them. And then they'll be like, I'm so sorry. They apologize. But I'm like, well, you're not the jerk, but and then a lot of times somebody will monitor and delete the comments.
It's like, it's so layered because a lot of people talk about hate as like just trolls being to like you as a person being like, you look dirty. You're like to us, or like, you always look dirty. You're gross. Like you're bad moms. But to have them attack like you as like a whole unit, like a family unit, and then a reality where you have to be like, because your kids I'm sure can see these comments, and then you're trying to manage the way they're feeling, and then you have to defend yourself. Like that's infuriating.
Whereas I don't get as much as I think like many of my friends who are white, they are getting more of that, like, oh, you're rich and you're overly putting it in your face. You're doing this, you're doing that. Like, I don't get that actually very much, which is rare in this business, but I am getting more of the racial stuff. And I talk about racism on my channel. So I get people who are following me, but they actually don't want to hear anything about it, which is really weird to me. I'm like, you clicked follow on a Black influencer, but you're like really pissed that I just talked about my race. It's just mind blowing to me, but I get it. And they will write me huge bucks about how racism is gone. And like that message is going to convince me that it's gone.
You're like, so thanks for enlightening me. That's your reality, not mine. And you're wrong, but okay. Oh, and do they keep following you? Probably.
Some do, but most, because they'll be like, well, thanks for your point of view, but most will block me. And honestly, that's something, especially with this last year, that I did for my mental health, because it was really like too much for me to deal with real life, deal with my kids, deal with everybody all of a sudden being aware of racism, even though it was like my normal life, but it's also like everyone wanted to talk about it all the time. And I also felt a need to educate, but then it was like, at the same time, getting those messages were really starting to bother me, especially the ones that were just uber racist. So I just blocked. I was like, why am I responding? Because I almost was like trying to convince people and help them. And I was like, I can't. They clearly are just here to argue, and they're so far off. That I just
you nailed it. You nailed it on the head. There's some people that just are there to argue, and they want to be heard so badly. And if you don't agree with them, it's like they can't handle the difference of opinion, like even if you validate them, they're still like, well, you're wrong. And you're like, I'm not even like, you can back away and they still want to come at you. I'm sorry. That's so shitty. Like I just, it's not fair to the, especially to kids. And do your boys follow you, and do they see what you do? Because are they on social media?
And is that an ongoing conversation you have to have with them when they see these? I mean, obviously it's their reality too, but they're seeing it online to you.
Yeah. But I think they're, especially my older boys, like my youngest, which I love. It's like at their age, they don't even know race or anything, it's like, I'm like, he was telling me about a little kid at school the other day, and I was like, he had a different name, so I was wondering, I was like, oh, what race is he? He's like, what's that? And I'm like, stay this way forever.
I know.
Older boys are very aware, and a lot has changed the older they get on how people view them, how people look at them in public, and they're aware of those things. So we've had to have really hard, unfair, I feel like, for moms conversations that just really suck. And so I've told them that people will send these messages and they've seen those things before. And I really try to put it in a box of, there are people who are jerks about everything, right? There are people who criticize everything. And some people in this world don't like people because of their color of their skin. So it's the same as people who criticize people for other reasons. Like, don't take it any deeper than that, because I do want them to have confidence in who they are and see this as really as trivial as it can be. But obviously they're aware of shootings and different things that are happening. And with our 16-year-old about to drive, there's like really unfortunate conversations we have to have. But I try, like, my thing as a Black mom is like, I'm trying to empower as much as I can and up their self-esteem as much as I can, because I realize that the world will try to take that down. And so I'm just trying to do as much as I can at home. And
does your 16-year-old have social media?
Yes. Yeah. So he only has some though. So I'm kind of strict when it comes to social media. So he does have Instagram. So he does see me and follows me on there. But he's like, don't tag me. I'm like, you don't want like 40-year-old moms following you. I'm like, that's all I would give you. Like,
when I ever tag like my brother, like my brother was like, but he's around and he's like, he checks his like requests and he's like, no, I do not want this.
I know. But we don't do TikTok.
Okay.
Because there's just some crazy stuff on there lately.
There is.
It's kind of like softboard.
So yeah. Oh yes. We
got shadow banned for one of my kids wearing a romper. And because there's a whole other thing about them, like, taking people off who are body confident movement. And then there's men and women naked with that have sexy bodies and like are fun. Everyone's got a sexy body, but with traditionally, so what society deems sexy, that are just fine. And like, I actually, I went on my son's TikTok one night and he's 9 and he's got it. And I know, listen, whole nother story. I was going through it.
The pandemic happened and we had nothing to do.
And I was like this, it was like, that those dances where there was that trend that was like ass clapping, like from behind. Yeah. And like, and I was
that was his whole feed.
I was like this. Oh my!
Because that's not our feed, right? Because it gives you.
I said to my husband, "We're like, it's before bed," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like I was just, my mouth was agape. I was like, and then I started to change his algorithm. I was like, hockey, hockey, sports. And I was like, oh, I gotta be checking the algorithm a little more often for this one.
Oh, I should say they had TikTok, but I had moments like you.
Yes,
didn't have TikTok. I was like, nope, it's not safe.
I just wonder for our kids, because now they're seeing how you can make money and be successful. I actually haven't really thought about this before, but you have a 16-year-old, like looking at us. My son was in my room yesterday and he's like, Dad has to sit at a computer is that snow?
Yeah, it's snowing here.
Oh my God. Dad has to sit at a computer and Yada has to do that. And he's like, you get to sit on your bed and do your work. And I'm like, this is the job I chose. And they're like, we want your job.
Yeah.
Like, are any of our kids going to be like, if you can do it, we can do it?
Yeah. No, one of my kids, my middle son, is like, Mom, I want to start YouTube. And I was like, I know nothing about YouTube too. But he was like, I'm like, this isn't like a get rich. It's quick, like, because they still, even living with me, only see they probably see like 50%, right? But a lot of it is just like me sitting at my computer. They don't know really fully how much work still goes in. So they're like, oh, when we get free stuff, a lot of times they're like, well, I want to get free stuff. I'm like, yeah, for me. But they're like, well, I need a job like this. And I think they're like, and their friends think it's cool, which is nice. But like their friends are like, whoa, your mom's so cool. And so they're like, yeah, my mom's famous and I can be too. I'm like, not famous, not real famous. Like, it's not real.
I know that we're almost at the 40-minute mark, but I have one last question. I believe you married your high school sweetheart.
College.
Okay, I was gonna say if your son came home with a girlfriend and you know, that was the one, would we be happy with that?
I don't like it.
Does he have a girlfriend?
Yes, and I'm having a hard time. And yeah, but I do feel like that's later too. Like, I mean, I had a boyfriend before 16, but like I'm having a hard time with like, I think that's the thing of having boys is like, I feel like women kind of control more in the marriage relationship. Like I kind of control how much my husband talks to his mom. Like I set stuff up, you know, so I'm like, I have to be okay with a girl. And I don't want like mama's boys too, because that's weird. And I've dated that too. And so I'm like, you guys are too close. So I am having a hard time with it. But I keep telling him, like, you are going to college and you'll probably not even care anymore. And you're gonna find somebody new. So don't get like too attached. So that's my advice. But I guess they
can't believe you're in that world. Oh,
I was wondering, I'm wondering from someone who's like been with their, like, you know, a love for a long time. And then when you have kids coming to that age and you're like, wait,
this could be
but it worked out for you. So
I hope it's not. I'm like, and I think there's like a benefit to dating multiple people before you settle down, even though I have friends who like married just their first like boyfriend. Actually, even though I stayed with my husband since college, I dated a lot before that. And so I do feel like it like helps you be settled and a little bit more like not midlife crisis.
I agree with you. We agree with you.
I feel like you save a divorce by dating, or like I feel like you save a you know, like a world of
and you learn so much about what you're looking for and about other people. Like you haven't been outside your family and you're like immediate friends for so long. Usually like when you get a boyfriend or girlfriend, they're from outside the circle, and you learn about their families and like,
and different personalities. And I say to this day, I would never appreciate my husband. I probably would have walked all over him if it wasn't because I dated jerks before him. Like it helped me realize like, oh, this is actually an amazing quality to have in a guy, not something I should just expect comes from everyone, right? Like, and I think that's what happens to people who like date right away, it seems like, and then they marry them, which I know people like that. And it's like, they undervalue who they're married to because you haven't been around. So you don't realize how rare and good that quality is. You're just like,
you're so right.
Wow. That is some, you know, that's
we could talk about all the topics with you. Everything. It's just like so interesting. I love it.
I'm so glad we got to connect and chat. And honestly, I hope this is just the beginning, because you are so calm and lovely to talk to. Where can everybody find you? And are you going to start a podcast?
I am so scared. I can only like be on ones. I feel like I cannot add any other. It's amazing.
I feel like you'd be so good at a podcast.
And also like just the sound of your voice is like, you've got a good rhythm, like, you know, because on podcasts it matters.
You're insightful. Like you have so much, like it's like information that people don't talk, like, you know, it's like,
and then you guys are like putting it in my head now.
Yeah, literally, you know, we do it just on our iPhone, and then you join a network, and then you can make more money.
Yeah, just so you know, we do it a little free app called REC record, and we go in the car or in a closet and we just push record and upload, and that's all we do.
Wow, that is impressive. Because I've been on other ones and it like intimidates me. I'm like, it feels like a lot is getting put together.
No.
A message you got.
I'll send you the link, honestly, and
she's the best teacher. She'll show you exactly how to do it.
The money to be made in podcasting is really like a lot. Yeah. And it's probably the topics you cover are probably underrepresented in the podcast world too.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys just totally gave me like the best pep talk.
Yeah. And it can be 30 minutes once a week or 40 minutes once a week. Like
do
that's
it in your car on the way to Costco.
Yeah. It can be conversations of raising boys, it can be, you can do anything you want on your podcast.
Oh yeah, and you don't need to plan it either. Like
no pictures.
We just talk about whatever we're feeling.
Yeah, it's the best though how you guys talk. It's so fun.
Yeah, you could just go and people just want to hear you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
back to where everybody can find you on. Honestly, at this very moment, you are at 199 on Instagram.
Yeah, let's
You're
get
good to hit
to
200.
Oh, no,
200.
We'll pop champagne for you.
Okay.
Maybe you'll be in Hawaii. Oh, that's a good celebratory thing.
Yeah.
I'm so OCD. I hate those numbers. Like 199. I'm like, I can't look
I know.
at oh, it's
We
an even number.
Have been at, 7 we were at 796 forever. And then, whenever we post something about, Black Lives Matter or any issue, it's like the masses leave you because,
Or we wear a bathing suit.
or you wear, so you wear a bathing suit, they're out, you say something, you wear something naughty, gone. So
which I feel very insulted. I'm like, you put
I
like
know.
my body in a bathing suit?
we thought we looked great.
I thought it was a 10 out of 10.
Yep.
So they can find you at
Only Girl, number 4, boys, but it's BOYZ.
and we'll tag it down below and we'll make sure we share it on Instagram. And we can't thank you enough for joining us. It was such a pleasure to talk to you today. And we can't wait for your podcast.
You guys are so sweet. I might really do it now.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.